Why is it so hard to talk to your parents about funeral planning? In this video, we're going to talk to you about some strategies on how you can do that, how you can talk to your parents about this topic, which most people, of course, let's face it, don't want to talk about it. We're going to give you some strategies on how to do that, and hopefully you can be able to get the ball rolling and have their funeral plan done. That way, you can have no stress, or you can have that stress alleviated from you when the time comes. My name is Alphonse, and
And I'm Mio.
we together have helped thousands of families plan their funerals in USA. So, Mio, what do you think? What's the first strategy that you think people should do to be able to help their parents?
Yeah, this is a question we get asked a lot and that we get confronted with even if people don't ask. And I think there's really two main approaches that I see. Either one, you accept the fact that your parents don't want to talk about this and you just get those plans done on your own and you do something that you think will bring your family peace, something that all the siblings will agree on, something that the main players, the main family members will feel comfortable with. That I would suggest if in the case that the person really doesn't want to talk about it and you've tried to bring it up and they really just don't want to talk about it. It's better not to make this into a fight. And anyway, then you're going to have that memory that this all came to a head and it was a big argument, and it really needs to be something more respectful than that. The other approach would be that you do talk to your family about it, specifically the person you want to make arrangements for, and you get the information, you get their wishes, but without directly confronting them. And at the end of the video, or towards the end of the video, we're going to talk about some strategies that we think would work, and some questions you could sneakily, maybe not sneakily, but you could ask without them feeling like they're talking about their own death, because that's obviously not something no one wants to talk about,
Right.
especially as it gets near.
Right. So then let's talk about the why. Why is it actually hard?
So by the time someone's 70 or 80 and they could see the end of their life is coming, they've probably already dealt with loss. And there's kind of a two-sided pain that they feel. On the one hand, they remember what it was like to lose people they loved, and also now they have to leave people they love. And it's compounded in that way because they've never had to deal with they maybe thought about their death, and we all know we're going to die abstractly, but when it's knocking on the door, so to speak, or you could see it and you've been feeling yourself deteriorate for decades, you really, sometimes people just shell up and they just don't want to talk about it. They just avoid it completely to the point that it seems irrational. And in those cases, I would advise the family usually just to make the arrangements, because at the end of the day, you're going to be sitting across from a funeral director one way or the other. And do you want to do it at a time where you're sad and you're unprepared and you don't know where all the documents you need are, and you're trying to get everybody to agree on some specific wishes? That's probably not the time to do it. So it's better to do it when you're clear-headed in advance, you're calm, the tensions aren't high, and you can make decisions with a clear head.
And I've heard it in some instances where, isn't it like taboo to talk about it because people think
Yeah.
that if you talk about it, then something's going to happen?
Sure, yeah, there's a lot of cultures and even just families that think that if they talk about death, they're going to invite it into their life. I don't know that that's true. I mean, we buy insurance for other things. We buy health insurance and life insurance and car insurance and homeowners insurance, but we never buy insurance for the one thing that we know it's going to happen for sure. And that's a mistake. That's kind of why we're here.
Yeah. So then you mentioned about, we want to talk about those strategies and how you can bring that conversation up. So what's one way that you think someone can bring the conversation up to their parents without making them not want to talk about it? Because of course the answer they always get is, no, I don't want to talk about it right now.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, for a lot of people, they just don't want to talk about it no matter what. So you do have to be a little creative. I said sneaky before, but it's more creative in the way you approach it. Probably the easiest way would be around conversations pertaining to someone that already died in your family. So when it's time for going to grandma's grave or grandpa's grave, or to talk about the service, the anniversary of their death, you can say, well, do you want to be buried with your parents? Did you ever think about that? Or, you could just ask them, or you could ask them if they agree with their religion's view on how they should be cared for after they die. A lot of times people follow a religion or a certain set of beliefs, but they really don't want to. Go along with that religion's way of caring for the dead. And just by that simple question, how do you feel about cremation? How do you feel about burial? There's an extra grave next to grandpa. Is that where you want to be buried? There's you can listen for clues too. I mean, even if someone were to say, like, I want that song played at my funeral, make a mental note of that. Or I would love if these pictures were displayed at my funeral. There's little, key things that people might say out of context, even when you're not talking about funeral arrangements, that it's good to just keep it in the back of your head.
Now, one of the biggest challenges that most people get is that it's one thing to talk about it with the person and getting that idea of the plan, but it's another thing to get that person now to commit to having a way to pay for it from his own pocket. Because sure, sometimes someone talks about it and they're having struggles talking about it with someone who doesn't have insurance, doesn't have any sort of money if it was to happen. So now, how do you get that person to now go from not wanting to talk about it? Let's say they have the money. They don't want to talk about it, but you want them to talk about it. Then on top of that, have a plan of how they can pay for it with their own money, so that way you don't have to use your own finances to do that. Is there even a way to do that?
That's a great question. So I think in this case, this could be another creative way of approaching the conversation, is to say that, look, if you don't make a decision, I'm going to have to. And, it can feel kind of like emotional blackmail in a way, but you are just saying, look, this is going to be my problem. I want you to help me with this. And it can be a gift that the person gives to you as a child or sibling or a grandchild, to say, look, you're helping me because I want to help you. And it's not really then a case of, help me do this for my sake. It's for the family. It's for the legacy. It's so that people don't fight, so they don't argue and disagree at this difficult time. And fight about money. I mean, let's just face it. We talked about in a previous episode that a funeral could cost over $20,000 between all the cemetery fees and everything needed. That's a lot of money, and not everybody has that money. So, you'll hear things like people doing GoFundMes and all these Kickstarter campaigns to try to get some money for a funeral. It's really sad. That could have all been avoided potentially. Just coming up with money at the last minute can feel like an extra blow to your family's legacy, and we've seen it happen too many times. So.
Yeah. So then, how does someone get that? How does that person get that other person to now think about either leaving some money for it or start paying on it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, pre-planning can take all different forms. I mean, you could have a life insurance policy, you could have a trust account, you can make monthly payments, you could have a final expense policy, which might not make as much sense in a lot of cases, but everybody's situation is unique, and that's why we always say you should meet with somebody who is going to take the time to sit down and explain the options to you. You can even set aside money in a certain savings account where you have a beneficiary that is going to use that to pay for your funeral expenses. I think the clearest and the most helpful way at the time that you're going to actually need the funeral arrangements would be to meet with a funeral home, though, and specifically pick out what you need and make sure it's all paid for. It just saves you the headache. Really, then all it is a phone call when the person dies.
We hope this video helped you. I mean, if we talked about two strategies. One strategy is just go over them and just go ahead and get it done. Of course, it's a little harder to do because let's say you don't know what exactly they want. But then again, we always like to say that funerals are for the living. So it's not also the bad thing, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to experience that funeral, because it is for the people that are here to at least be able to celebrate the life and enjoy the life of the person that has passed on.
That's a
Now,
great point. I just want to make a point on that. We have this guilt if we did I pick the right thing? Did I spend enough money? Was it nice enough? Were the flowers pretty enough? Whatever it ends up being, you're gonna find a way to think about that if the person didn't directly tell you what they wanted. You're always gonna have some doubt. But then again, like you said, it's the funeral's for you. It's for the living. It's for us to remember. We have to be the ones to go home after that funeral and live with what happened and what was said and the way it was done and what we saw. And if the person who died really didn't care and they told you on numerous occasions they didn't care, it's up to you to step up now and care.
yeah. And for the second strategy, it just needs to use some of the people skills that you might have. Try and talk to them in a nice way, bring up the topic here and there. And then maybe it will be a helpful idea is to have a planning guide, fill it up halfway with the stuff that you've maybe heard from him, from the family member here and there. And then now, when you now bring it up to him, like, or her, where it's like, okay, this is already halfway filled. I just need for you to fill up this part. Then it's easier. And the planning guide that I'm talking about is found on the link on the description of this video, and you can go ahead and grab it, and we'll email it to you, and then hopefully it can help your family do something. I hope this video helps you, and we'll see you on the next one.